welcome to Alberta News and Views. Now, I always say that all roads lead to Western independence because things are going to get worse, believe it or not. The writing is on the wall. You have got to check out this article, hot off the press from the National Post. Secret R.C.M.P report warns Canadians may revolt once they realize how broke they are. Right from the get-go, the report authors warn that whatever Canada's current situation, it will probably deteriorate further in the next 5 years. Please bear with me while I read this sucker to you. It is just unbelievable. And of course, today the Liberal NDP party voted to increase your taxes. Yes, they voted to increase the carbon tax. So, Pierre Poilievre and his government will introduce a non-confidence motion, a non-confidence vote against Justin Trudeau's government, and you can bet that the Liberal NDP party, with the help of the Bloc, will strike it down, and we will not get our election. This is it's just crazy. A secret RCMP report is warning the federal government that Canada may descend into civil unrest once citizens realize the hopelessness of their economic situation. 7 out of 10 Canadians do not want to work anymore. They're done. Work does not pay off. Taxes are too high. Canada is hemorrhaging skilled trades to other countries. It is hemorrhaging entrepreneurs to other countries. And it is hemorrhaging private investment. The only investment Canada has right now is your investment, your taxpayer dollars being taken from your pension fund, which is why they don't want Alberta to leave so bad. It's systemic, it is corruption, it is infiltration and destabilization. It is just unreal. For Justin Trudeau, it's mission accomplished, everything as planned. The coming period of recession will accelerate the decline in living standards that the younger generations have already witnessed compared to earlier generations, reads the report, entitled Whole of Government 5-Year Trends for Canada. For example, many Canadians under 35 are unlikely ever to be able to buy a place to live. Now, what would you think of a country, a G7 country, that can't afford to house you or feed you or educate you, and on top of that, all the taxes that you pay, can't even take care of you now when you're sick? So what is the point? And that is what everybody is saying to themselves right now. Why am I living here freezing my ass off when I can go somewhere else and be treated a lot better? That is what they are scared of, is Canadians asking themselves these simple questions. A heavily redacted version was made public as a result of an access to information request filed by Matt Malone, an assistant professor of law at British Columbia's Thompson Rivers University and an expert in government secrecy. Describing itself in an introduction as a scanning exercise, the report is intended to highlight trends in both Canada and abroad that could have a significant effect on the Canadian government and the RCMP. You know, this is just the standard of living stuff. This doesn't even scratch the surface of all of the scandals and all of the money being stolen. That is making it worse. All of these bills that nobody asked for, online censorship, the gun buyback bullshit, now the Online Harms Act, and of course the carbon tax. Close to 7 out of 10, the huge majority of Canadians do not want that carbon tax at all. It is crazy. Right from the get-go, the report authors warn that whatever Canada's current situation, it will probably deteriorate further in the next 5 years. In addition to worsening living standards, the RCMP also warns of a future increasingly defined by unpredictable weather and seasonal catastrophes such as wildfires and flooding. Most notably, report authors warn of Canada facing increasing pressure to cede Arctic territory. And there's the military as well. This is a society in decline. It's nuts. Another major theme of the report is that Canadians are set to become increasingly disillusioned with their government which authors mostly chalk up to misinformation, conspiracy theories, and paranoia. I would argue that and say that we are disillusioned with their government because it's scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal every single day. And we have no justice. We have no media, independent media that isn't censored. So, of course, you have a society that is paranoid. And of course, you have a prime minister that doesn't answer any questions. Law enforcement should expect continuing social and political polarization fueled by misinformation campaigns and an increasing mistrust for all democratic institutions, reads one of the report's overarching considerations. You can bet that what the government's going to do is more censorship too, because that's what they're going to blame it on. Misinformation, disinformation. We must censor the internet. And then eventually, like I say, people are just going to put down their phones and walk away from it because it's too dangerous to talk on your phone or even use your phone. Ironically, among the report's more heavily redacted sections is one carrying the subtitle, Erosion of Trust. The past 7 years have seen marked social and political polarization in the Western world, reads a partial first sentence with the entire rest of the section deleted by government censors. What happened in the past 7 years? I wonder. We're still waiting for an independent public inquiry into Chinese infiltration into our elections. We're never going to see that. The censor's pen also deleted most of a section warning about paranoid populism, capitalizing on the rise of political polarization and conspiracy theories have been populists willing to tailor their message to appeal to extremist movements, reads the section's one non-redacted sentence. Well, just look at what the Liberal government did in the last 2 days. They completely divided the country, especially in terms of supporting Palestinian, giving the cold shoulder to allies in regards to Israel while supporting arms to Ukraine. They are picking and choosing depending on votes, creating a huge divide, which is creating huge civil unrest amongst groups, which will probably contribute to extremist groups and extremism. So, of course, it's going to go on the rise. We have an extremist activist government. In terms of declining living standards and inaccessible home ownership, the RCMP's warning are indeed in line with available statistics. Canadian productivity, measured in terms of GDP per capita, has been trending downwards since at least the 80s, but this has accelerated dramatically in recent years, even as per worker productivity rises in many of our peer countries. The worst performing state is performing better than our best performing province in Canada. That is how bad it is. An analysis last year by the University of Calgary economist Trevor Toome found that if Canada had merely kept pace with the United States productivity growth for the last 5 years, Canadian per capita earnings would be $5,500 higher than they are right now. Meanwhile, housing affordability has reached worst ever levels in most of Canada's major markets, according to a December analysis by RBC. On average, even condos are now so unaffordable that only 44.5% of Canadian households had sufficient income to buy one at current prices. As for single-family homes, only the richest 25% of Canadian households had any hope of obtaining one. Jeez. Economic forecasts for the next 5 years and beyond are bleak, reads the RCMP's assessment of the rest of the decade, even adding a quote from French President Emmanuel Macron that the end of abundance is nigh. So let's open the floodgates then. Why not? It is unbelievable how bad things have declined in the last 4 years. We have seen the largest redistribution of wealth in human history. It is unreal. Pierre Poilievre talked about this the other day, that if you were lucky enough to buy a home before 2019, you were just so further ahead than anybody else because you got your spot. So what can we expect in the future for Canada? This. What do you think is going to happen when people start fighting? Once the food runs low? All of these things. Weak leaders create hard times. And here we are. Pierre Poilievre can't get in there quick enough, and he has huge question marks over top of his head as well. But he comes from humble beginnings, so we'll see. Because there are a lot of good politicians in that caucus. And just speaking about Alberta, there's a lot of good politicians here as well. That were born and raised Albertans, so it's not like there are these career politicians that can be bought and paid for when things get tough. And they are going to get way tougher. Follow me on Substack and Spotify, and please comment below and let me know what you think and what you're seeing out there. Like, share, and take care.